The Eibusher that we've been hoping for. This is the Eibusher that is here to save us. So whenever I make a siyum, I always ask Pinchas Freeman what he could send me and what message to convey. So this part of the Torah was delivered on a silver platter by Pinchas Freeman, and all the Torah and the siyum is Le'ilui Nishmas my father, Rabbi Yosef Mordechai Simcha ben Amchai Amen. And then we finish off the masechte taanis with the words Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how appropriate it is that we're speaking about Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu during the 9 days. And as we all know, this concept of Mara Be'etzboy, that we're all going to come to the point when Mashiach comes, we're all going to point with our fingers and saying this is our Eibishter, and that's the concept of a circle. A machal is a circle. And they ask, when it comes the 9 days, we know that the first Churban was because of the 3 Averos Chamuras, and we know the second Churban was not because of the 3 Averos Chamuras, but rather because of their Torah, or rather there was Sinas Chinam. What is the concept of a machal? How does that correspond? How does that rectify the concept of Sinas Chinam? Well, number one, we all know that we all dance together and we hold hands together and we dance. That, of course, the Abbas Chinam. That's exactly the opposite. When we come closer to one another, that definitely combats Sinas Chinam. But what happens is that when we say we're all dancing in a circle, it really represents that we're all equal. That each and every one of us in our own avodah of the Eibishter, each one of us has our own purpose, our own nafka, our own capabilities, our own potential. And each one of our service of the Eibishter, each one of us in our own avodah is valued equally. Some of us have our avodah in Zeriza, some of us in Lomdus, some of us in Bekiyah, some of us with warmth and Avarmkeit. Each one of us in our own talents have the capability to serve the Eibishter. But the most important thing that we have to represent is to show that when you're dancing in a circle, you're all exactly equal. The circle is all even. Interestingly, when you go into a minyan, you count 10 people, it doesn't make a difference what your status is in life, right? Whether you're healthy, you're sick, whether you're rich or you're poor, whether you're good looking or ugly, it doesn't make a difference. Every single person that comes into a minyan is exactly equal. So when we go ahead and we know that it comes to 9 days and we have to go ahead and do tshuva for the sinas chinam that caused the churban, when we go ahead and we show the simchas haTorah by inviting one another to a siyum haTorah, and we show a chiba, a love for one another, and we show that we're all equal in all of our avodas together, we show that havas chinam, a siyum haTorah. We know that Chazal teaches that when they make a siyum, it's a yom tov, they make a big party like we're doing over here. It's all a symbol that we all come together. It's all one big ahavas chinam. There's no class system when it comes to Klal Yisrael, and each one of our avodah is very, very valuable and beloved in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Last night, I was listening to an amazing shir by Ramelech Biederman, and he told over something that I thought was pretty fascinating. Rabbi Yanka Galinsky had a son named Nachman Galinsky, who he died at a very young age, and he suffered terribly. He became ill. He told over, it's an unbelievable story. He said that when he became ill, they had a letter that was written by his father, by Rabbi Yanka Galinsky. They should go raise money for his treatments. So they went around there to Yisrael, and they sent a whole bunch of chevra to America to go collect money for his treatments. And when they came to a certain town in New York City, he didn't mention what town it was, they came to a certain yeshiva, and they went to the Rosh Yeshiva, and they said to him, here's a letter that Rav Nachman Galinsky, Rav Yanka Galinsky's son, is sick. And the yeshiva said, Nachman Galinsky, and they said, how do you know him? He didn't reply, and he said all the costs of the treatment, whatever the numbers are. It was a very big schom, a very big amount, and he said it's on him, he's taking care of the whole thing. Came 3 days later, and he gave to the Mishulachim, he said, here's the check, here's the whole amount, wish Rav Nachman or Fuah Shalema for me. 3 days later, one of the Talmidim said to the Rosh Yeshiva, what inspired you about this Rav Nachman Galinsky that you took such an ownership or responsibility to raise him this money? So he said, you know what, I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to call a shmooze. So after Mincha, he gives a clap on the bima, and he goes out and he calls the whole yeshiva, and he says, let me tell you why I went ahead and I raised this money for Nachman Galinsky, And I'm going to tell you right now, the whole yeshiva, this entire yeshiva that's here today, is due Hakaras HaTov to Nachum Galinsky. And he says, let me tell you the story. He goes, when I was growing up, he says, I came from a not such a fortunate home. My father wasn't well respected in the community. We weren't so well off. And I wasn't necessarily the best kid, so inspired to sit and learn. But Nachum Galinsky came from a beautiful heritage. His father was Nachum Galinsky. He was destined for greatness. One day in class, the Rebbe is giving shir, and there was a kid in the class who went ahead and folded up a piece of paper and made it into a paper airplane and flung it at the Rebbe in the middle of the shir. So the Rebbe went ahead and he slammed his Gemara shut, and he says, the one who did this has to go ahead and admit that he did it right away, and that boy is being expelled from yeshiva immediately. So you can imagine the tension in the classroom. Nobody wanted to volunteer that they were the thrower of the paper airplane. And the Rebbe said it again. We're not continuing the shir until, imagine the tension, we're all little kids, what's going on. And Rabbi Nachum Galinsky stood up and he said, I'm the one Rebbe who went ahead and threw the paper airplane. And you can imagine, the Rebbe at that moment didn't care that he was Rabbi Nachum Galinsky's son, and he gave it to him over his head, and he said he threw it out of yeshiva in front of the entire classroom, and that was it. So of course you can imagine a couple of days later, Rabbi Nachum Galinsky spoke to the Manal, and he got his son back into the yeshiva. He goes, the one who threw that paper airplane was me. He goes, the yeshiva said, he goes, I was the one who threw that paper airplane. And if I would have been caught at that moment, I would have had nobody to defend me. My yarmulke would have been off. I would have been off the there, thrown out of the yeshiva. Imagine you get thrown out of the yeshiva with nobody to stand up for you. And my future would have looked very, very differently. But on the opposite side, I went ahead and I was so inspired that a child, a young boy, can give of himself so much to protect somebody else. I said, this is what a house of Torah looks like. This is a house that I want to build for my future. So all the Torah that we have in this yeshiva is because of Rabbi Nachum Galinsky, and that's why I ran to go ahead and help him. He told over another amazing story. He says that years ago, during the 9 days, the Chafetz Chaim got up and he went ahead and he said, the avodah of every single yid during the 9 days is to go and give chizuk to every one of his friends. You see another yid, ask him how he's doing. Be machazik one to another, be machazik another yid. End of the shir. So the Chafetz Chaim comes down from giving the shir. And he sees the whole chevra is chazering over this shir. But the Maisa, they're saying, come on. The Chafetz Chaim can get up and say, and they become machazik somebody else. But us, one to another, who are we to go and machazik somebody else? So Chafetz Chaim realized they were all, questioning what he had said. He went back up to the bima, and he gave a clap, and he goes, let me tell you a story. So the Chafetz Chaim tells over, he says, there was one time, there was a minister, and the minister came to a special suda, and his butler, he asked for a cold drink, he asked for some water, and the butler served him warm water. So the minister got all upset, and the minister said, what kind of people are you that you serve a minister warm water? You're supposed to go ahead and put the water in a refrigerator or an ice, and you serve a minister like me ice cold water. It should be refreshing. What are you going to give me warm water? So they said, okay, we're sorry. It came a couple of days later. The minister's house was on fire, and he's screaming, new water, water, and they didn't come, and the house burned down. So they went ahead and they started screaming at them, you idiots, you fools, why didn't you bring me water? They said, but you told us the water had to cool down. So we could have to have the water cool down. We couldn't bring it to you right away. The Chafetz Chaim said there used to be a time where only darshanim can go ahead and get up, and they can go ahead and pour and cool off the water, and they can. Today, every single person has the koyach to pour water, meaning to go ahead and give chizuk to every single person. It should be takas chos that we finish masechte taanis. We see taka every single day. Nisim gluyim in Eretz Yisrael. But Pinchas Friedman added on that if you take the word nes happens when you have Eden that are a circle. If they work together ba'achdis, you have a nes. That's why if you take the nun looks like half the samach. It's half a circle. So if you're a nun, you're falling down and down. You can't ever work independently. You're going further down. But if you put it together with a samach, you have a full circle. You have a machal. then Am Yisrael Hashem, the Eibishter realizes that we have a Havas Chinim, we love one another, we support one another, Ishtu Yoyma Chazak, and if we go ahead and we show the Eibishter how much we love one another, how much we want to machazik one another, then Am Yisrael Hashem Taka will be Zoicha, Mamash B'Karov, to be dancing together with the Eibishter, be able to show with our own fingers, Zeh Hashem Kibinu Loi V'Yoshiyah.